Hello and welcome back for another year of the Multicultural AFL Football Show. We'll be bringing you the latest in AFL news, interviews, as well as special guests for the next 28 weeks, including the AFL Final Series. I am Vanessa Gatica and I'm joined by my two co-panelists, Javier Sincang and Gabriel De Angelo. Hello guys.
Hello Vanessa.
Hello Vanessa.
Nice to see you boys, back from holidays and ready to work. Well, talking of Grand Final, we were all wrong last year. How did Collingwood lose that one from being 5 goals in front of the Eagles? Quickly, Javier, what went so wrong for the Pies in the game and what are their chances this year?
Well, I would say it was meant to be. That's all I can say. It was like the perfect start. Collingwood were ahead, and then we had Travis Walker, all the emotional side of it, kicked the first goal. So the whole MSCG going for them, and it was like just an atmosphere. They shouldn't have lost that one. So that's why I said it was meant to be. Somehow they were leading like pretty much all the game. I think about 9 minutes or so. That's when West Coast were in front, and then we get that magic goal at the end, and he was able to hold on to his nerves. It was just meant to be for West Coast Eagles, I believe, because this was the year when they travelled well. Whenever there's a season, we talk about their traveling and they're not that good other than the Perth, but this year they did play well, and to win without Gaff, without Nick Natney, that was just awesome. And Buckley summed it up well as well. They were defeated in the aerial battles, and in the end they probably lost the urge or something like that. They lost their way. So that's a possible explanation. But this year they'll be hungry. They will be giving their best, I believe, and they are very strong contenders this year for me.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing grand final. I thought it was brilliant. But you've got to give West Coast the credit that they deserve, because in the first quarter they were about 30-odd points down. And in a grand final, with all those people watching and the embarrassment, just the pressure and everything on top of them, other teams would have folded. But they stuck to it, they worked hard, and they got back and they won the game. It was fantastic. And I think that the goal that won the game for West Coast, that just basically told the whole story of how good West Coast were in that game, because McGovern did that mark in defence, sent the ball long, and there was 4 contested hard ball gets from the West Coast players, and then Sheeds got that goal from a very tight angle. Whether or not it was, it should have been a free kick or not, that's debatable, but that goal from that tight angle, you have to give West Coast credit where it's due, because they were very, very good, and hopefully both teams can, especially Collingwood, could bounce back and have a good season, but time will tell.
It was a fantastic grand final. Now that's out of the way, and we have a new season starting tonight. When the Blues met the Tigers at the MCG, Carlton did very well against Collingwood 2 weeks ago. Can they keep that form up, or will Richmond swamp them?
Well, Carlton is a team full of surprises, I believe. Even last year, when they were down, they played some pretty good games, which like any team would be proud of. And I believe this year, with the inclusion of Sam Walsh, and they look a very good side this year. And believe if it clicks for them with the Crepes, probably in the midfield, and he's been scoring frequently as well. So he's right there on the money. So if he can do well, and with a bit of a support from everyone else, but they can just kill the game at the moment. But if we look at Richmond, if they've got Sam Walsh, they've got Noah Balta at the moment. He's in the mix at the moment. I was reading about it, and they said he could be the next Alex Rance. So it's a big shoes to fill. Yeah. So I believe Richmond have got the ammunition, and they've got the urge as well. They fell little short last year, so I think they'll be going all out this year as well. So I believe this one, Richmond should be able to win, but I believe Carlton will put up a good fight.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think Richmond will win because Richmond are Richmond, but Carlton definitely have the makings of a good team this season. I think Carlton, they really are going to be the ones that are going to improve probably the most. And I'll say Carlton and Brisbane Lions are in that mix as well. But Carlton definitely have some good young guys that are starting to get a lot of confidence, a lot of games under their belt. They're
Yes,
starting
of
to play
course.
some really, really good footy. And I wouldn't be surprised that if Carlton, well, I don't think Carlton are going to make the finals. They will have a good season by their standards, but I think this season is going to be the base of a better season in 2020. I think Carlton fans have to be patient just one more year. I think next year is going to be the year where we can really see Carlton really push through.
I agree with you, Gabriel. Let's move on as we have a lot to cover. Friday night, Collingwood are at home to the Cats at the G. I have to say that both teams right now look very balanced, and I'm thinking it's going to be a tough game. What are your thoughts, Gabriel?
Well, yeah, it's going to be a very tough one, of course. Collingwood, they're going to be probably the favourite going into this game just because they were so close last season. They've got that momentum from last year's grand final and last year's season. But I really do believe Geelong, they have got the makings of an extremely good team that are going to at least be in the top four, I believe. I think the young guys, Ruddy Golea and some of the new guys that have come in, and their older players, Selwood, Ablett, Tom Hawkins, your husband, they're really, really good players. And just having that experience and youth together, gelling so well. And not only that, Geelong are going to play 9 games at home. So you better believe that they're going to use that for their advantage. So I think for this game, I'm just going to say Collingwood just because of the momentum they had last year. But Geelong, I think, are going to have a very, very good year.
Yeah, I believe what he said is right in the winning part. I think it's going to be a very fierce contest from what I can say. Although history sort of supports Collingwood, because even if you look at the years when they were a bit down, they were still able to beat Geelong somehow. But this year, I believe Gary Ablett and all that trio, that all the talk that was last year, maybe it was too much for them too soon. And now they've spent a year or so, and now they've done the practice together. I believe they'll be able to come on to their positions. They'll be able to determine what their role is much better than last year. So they'll be coming out very strong. And as you mentioned, all the players, and Collingwood would be a bit more hungry as well. So that's why I would tip in favor of Collingwood.
Before we go any further, how do you think the new 6-6-6 formation and other rules will play out this year, guys? My opinion is that the side that has midfield advantage will be hard to beat.
Well, I believe so. I believe that's the case. But we have to let AFL experiment, because in the hindsight we can see that their idea is to make the game better. So that's why they're trying to evolve those all those rules. They want to make the game better so that people can sort of enjoy it. So the way all the formation has been done is to so that the people can see all the old-fashioned one-to-ones competition. So there'll be a lot of those competitions as well. Then you will have people with good penetrating kick, like Shannon Hunt from West Coast. He'll be able to kick it from far and much more accurate as well. So all that stuff will probably lead to what AFL has got a plan for, to score more goals, I believe. At this year, the only thing which I probably think is they need to be more consistent with the umpires. Like the umpires need to make the judgments which sort of favors them. Umpire needs to make the judgment which is right. So they need to understand the rules well. So we don't want all the controversies, because we can all see that the whole premiership rests on sometimes one goal. So I believe hopefully the umpires can get it right. The idea is right, and then let's see how we go this year then.
Yeah, I'm not really all that enamoured about the constant changes to the rules. The AFL is the only sporting organisation in the world that constantly changes the rules all the time. It's like every year, like every so often there's a change here and there, and sometimes it's not even necessary. With some of the changes to like the head-high tackles and all that, that's fine. I can understand, because concussions and all that sort of
safety.
stuff. Exactly right, that's fine. But there are a lot of changes that aren't exactly necessary, and they're going to change the game so much that it's going to be unrecognisable. I mean, the game's been around for 100 and something years, and it's been fine as it is. So why is it that we have to have these constant changes? And it's going to get to the point where, and this might sound a little bit extreme, where it gets so unrecognisable that I wouldn't be surprised if some billionaire says, well, the game is destroyed, I want to make up my own league. You never know. You could laugh, but it happened with the NRL. It happened with Rugby League and Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened there. So you never know what can happen. And they could say, okay, well, we're going to have a team in Tasmania, we're going to have State of Origin, we're going to have a team in Darwin as well. We're going to have a completely new competition against the AFL and have the rules like it used to be. You never know. I mean, it might sound crazy. I mean, it is a little bit, I understand. But you never know, because these changes are just so much that some people are just getting annoyed with it.
Yeah, but I believe like there has to be some sort of basis behind that as well. That AFL is coming up with these rules. They want us to go there and watch the matches. So I believe that might be a positive thing, and hopefully it leads into that direction.
If the game is so great, do they need to have so many changes? I mean, like I said, the game's been going on for 100 and something years. Do they really need to have it? And don't get me started on AFLX. I mean, these things, these rules, these changes are just so unnecessary and just not warranted or not needed. Yeah,
I do agree with you. But then again, we have to see that the game has changed a lot as the players that are coming up, they are more athletic. There's not like fear contest. On the other hand, we are saying that we need the safety. Those contests which were used to happen, we all know how brutal this game was back then. So all these things are changing. So we have to evolve with the time at the moment. So I believe all I can say is AFL got the right mindset so that they can evolve with the games, like and evolve with the people, so that they can come on. We've seen that a lot of rush sort of becomes together, and then there's ball. You can't pass the ball. All the runners coming in, taking their time, and then there's so many people on the ground. So all that sort of mucks the game a little bit, I would say. But I believe AFL, I'm pretty sure they would have put some thought into it, put some experts into it, and I think they come up with something positive. Let's see how it comes out there.
Okay, viewers, don't go anywhere as we will be back after the break with more on the Multicultural AFL Football Show, so stick around. Welcome back for the second part of the show as we continue with this week's fixture. Saturday is full of AFL action, most significant of which is the game between the Crows and the Hawks. High stakes match so early in the season, guys.
Yeah, I would say so. This is one of probably the best games with Hawks coming in against Adelaide. Even in the last years, as I've been mentioning history with the other games, even this one, Hawthorn, been able to beat them in Adelaide as well when they were on a very good run and Hawks were a bit down. So I believe it's going to be a very good contest, and Adelaide got a lot of points to prove. Last year being a disaster for them. There are heaps of reasons we can talk about their camp or anything, all their injuries. Hopefully they've got over those injuries and everything, what happened at the camp. So they are a good team. I believe they have the potential to move back and they will give something to their fans. So I believe just because of that, I believe Adelaide might be able to win this one. So in front of the home crowd, I believe we don't know how the Hawks gonna play with Chad Wingard and a few others, how they're gonna match up against the likes of players from Adelaide. But I believe Adelaide might have a little bit of edge on that. So Adelaide for me.
Yeah, Adelaide, I think last year they might have thought that it would have been easy to make it into the finals after being grand finalists the year before. I think they probably didn't realise it was going to be so hard to go back into it. They thought it was just a given. And they did seem to be genuinely traumatised by their Guantanamo Bay style camp that they had. I mean, it really did mess them up. Because of all this, it looks like Adelaide has lost their edge a little bit. They really need to have a good season this year. I mean, there's no excuses. They really have to start off on a winning front. But the thing is, Hawthorn, just like Geelong, some very good young players, they're experienced players mixing together, just gelling so well, and they've got the secret weapon of Alistair Clarkson, who I think is just the best coach in the league and in the modern era. I think he's just amazing. Hawthorn, I think, are going to have a very good year, and I know that some people are going to say Adelaide because it's at home and all that, but I actually think Hawthorn are going to win this one. I think Hawthorn are going to have a good start to the year.
Okay.
I would say Port really needs to prove a point. I will answer later on who will win. But I believe Port, they had the ammunition last year as well. They really should have done better. Although you can say they had close games, and then there was huge controversy about the goal, which didn't go their way. And I believe that could have made a lot of difference too. But I believe they really need to prove a point this year and travel good and play a very good game. So I believe this year I might think that they will have it in them. So I believe it's Port Adelaide for me in this game.
Well, okay. Because I think, Melbourne, they've well and truly arrived. I think, after last year's performance, I think a lot of eyes are on Melbourne this time around. But with Melbourne, I don't know. Melbourne, and I'm going to say Essendon as well, they just seem to be like two teams where I wouldn't be surprised either way if they make the finals or don't. They're just those sort of teams where anything can really happen. I think that Melbourne will beat Port Adelaide because Port Adelaide, they're not as strong as they used to be. They've lost a lot of their edge. They're just not as good as they were a couple of years ago. This game is going to be a tale of two teams where one team is going up in Melbourne and Port Adelaide is going down. I think that Melbourne are going to win this one quite comfortably, at home against a team that are not going so great. Yeah, Melbourne for me.
All right. Next, the Bulldogs go head-to-head with Sydney Swans at the Marvel, and Brisbane takes on the reigning premiers, the Eagles. Your brief verdict on the two games, boys?
Well, I would say with Bulldogs game, it's going to be a very hard game for them to play against Sydney Swans. Although we're not sure whether Buddy's playing or not. We know that he plays very well at the Marvel Stadium. And with Dale Morris out with the ACL, they've got some worries of their own. Then again, we've seen that in the GLT series, what we've been seeing last year with the Bulldogs, they're not able to score. The couple of goals that Bontempelli and a few others missed right in front, that was shocking. Unless they can pull themselves together and do some miracle, only then they would be able to beat Sydney Swans. Because Sydney Swans, they will have that urge to win this time. So Marvel Stadium is probably one of the stadiums they like. So they know how to play well in that. So I believe it's going to be a bit hard for my beloved Bulldogs to win this one. So I'm going to go for Sydney. And Brisbane, that's the other,
really?
as you really mentioned this year, previously you mentioned that Brisbane's going to be a team to watch. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I believe I wouldn't be surprised if they are able to somehow make into top 8 as well. Because last year when we saw Brisbane, and they played a lot of close matches, they were so close to winning. And this year I believe Chris Fagan would instill in those players the belief that they need to have, and they will be able to surprise a few teams this year. So I believe it's going to be, for that one, I might be going against the odds, but I think I've just got this feeling about Brisbane that they're going to win.
That's fair enough. I mean, but just going on to the Sydney game first, I think Sydney, they're another team you can pencil in for finals action this year. They're an amazing side, and I actually think that they're going to be in the top 4 this year. Last year they were very unlucky with injuries, but even though they had a lot of injuries during the year, they still made it to the finals and quite comfortably. And they're winning games away from home really well. So you can imagine how good they're going to be this year, fit and firing and winning games at home and away. So I think Sydney are going to have a really good season. But yeah, like what you said with the Brisbane Lions, I think that they've got the makings of a very good side this season. I think that the Brisbane Lions, I don't think they're going to make the finals this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I think they're going to be within touching distance of the finals action. I think the young guys, they're getting a lot of experience. They're really comfortable. Chris Fagan, he's a very good coach. He's starting to do really well with them. And Brisbane Lions, they're going to win quite a few games at home. I think they're going to use their home base as a good fortress, maybe win 1 or 2 games away, maybe a little bit more. We'll see how they go. But for this game, I'm going to say the Eagles, just because it's the Eagles. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions do win.
Your beloved Saints, Gabriel, take on the Gold Coast Suns, and the GWS Giants are at home to Essendon on Sunday footy. A couple of interesting games.
Yes, but if St Kilda don't beat Gold Coast at home, that's it. Season's over. St Kilda, Yeah.
Gabriel, I know.
Yeah, I know. It's a long-suffering experience being a St Kilda supporter. But with St Kilda, like for this game in particular, they've got a lot of players out injured, and it's not even round one yet, and like half the team is gone. And Paddy McCartan, he's got to really seriously consider what he wants to do in the future, because he keeps getting concussions, and even just a slight knock to the head knocks him out. That is going to be really, really bad for him in the future. He needs to think about the quality of his life after footy. So he needs to think about whether or not he wants to keep playing, if footy is really right for him. Because if he keeps getting knocked in the head, keeps getting concussions, who knows what's going to do to his mental health in the future. So he really needs to think about that. And Alan Richardson is extremely lucky, I think, to survive as coach of St Kilda. But we'll see what happens. But St Kilda should win that game, but we'll see what happens. And GWS, well, I actually think not only they're going to be in the top 4, but I think that they could potentially be in the grand final. I really do. I think GWS, they've got such a good team. They've got so many good young players. They've been playing together for a while now. And a lot of these players, they're good top draft picks too. So, the number 1 draft picks and so forth. So they're quality players and they're playing together. They're doing really, really well. Last season, we said, it wasn't a Ferrari, it was a Datsun 120Y. But this time around, if they are fit and firing, they will have an amazing season. Last year, they were very unlucky due to injury. This year, if everything goes right for them, I wouldn't be surprised if they make the grand final. If they win it, who knows? But I would not be surprised if GWS are playing in the last game in September.
Oh, wow. I totally echo what Gabriel's thoughts are on St Kilda. They really need to find some momentum, really need to find some rhythm. I believe it's going to be very hard for them to beat Gold Coast this year as well, because to me, mere fact is they are low on confidence at the moment. And with what happened to McCartan and what happened in the GLT series as well, I think they will be on the downside. Whereas Gold Coast were able to manage to get a win against Bulldogs, although Bulldogs didn't play that well either. But you can still probably say, because Gold Coast, since they know that it's coming to the stage where their club is in danger. So I believe there would be something in them that would be able to enough to topple the Saints. So I'm going for Gold Coast on that one. And with Essendon, I don't know, because they've got the best list, and GWS has lost few players, but that might work well with GWS because they had too many superheroes. A couple of them are gone, so it might work out well. They will gel better together maybe. Essendon, we'll see what it does. It's a GWS for me, just because of the fact that they might be a bit better.
All right. The last game of the round comes from Perth, where Fremantle takes on North Melbourne. And by the way, how good or bad are the Roos and Dockers, Javier?
Well, I would say Dockers should be able to win this one because of the mere fact that it's in Perth. Otherwise, I believe Roos, they got a definitely good chance. They had a very good chance last year with Jared Pollock in that side. I believe they're going to do wonders. So it's a easy one probably for me just because of it's in Perth, Fremantle Dockers.
Yeah, I agree. But North Melbourne, they're a very hard team to pinpoint. They don't have as much class or as quality as the other sides, but who knows where they can go. But it's good to see Majak Dor back and out and playing footy again. So that's a good thing about North Melbourne. At least Majak Dor is good again. So we'll see what happens. But I think Fremantle will win.
That's all we have time for this week. Stay tuned next week for the Multicultural AFL Footy News. I am Vanessa Gatica.
I'm Harbi Singh.
I'm Gabriel D'Angelo.
And thank you for watching.